evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another enlivening session here at the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Tiffany Gay. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Juanita. How are you?
I'm doing so well. My goodness, I haven't seen you since the Captor Connection conference, and I have to say I have missed you. Are you doing well?
I'm doing well, and I missed you too. Like, I love your spirit, your energy, your passion, everything about you. I just love. Yes, yes. And I'm doing well. I hope that you are also.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate it. I really do. Now, you and I, we've conversed, we've known each other for a few months now. We're talking on Messenger. We've been in the same Zoom calls. We did a conference together. So I know you by now, and I call you my sister. But for the audience members who are not acquainted with you yet, will you just introduce yourself, please?
Yes, absolutely. So good morning, good evening, whatever it is. Hello to all of you who are listening or who will be watching. So my name, as Juanita said, is Tiffany Gay. I do bring you light, love, hope, faith, encouragement, and empowerment all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so being as though I'm from Philadelphia, you just have to understand that I am overjoyed and so excited to be on this podcast that's hosted all the way from South Africa. I'm like, wow. So that alone blows my mind. So thank you again. And so I am a mother of a happy, energetic, spunky 13-year-old named London. I'm an author, an award-winning speaker, a mindset coach, mentor, and specialist. I also have a podcast. The name of my podcast is called Tea with Tea. And so I'm a CEO as well. I have an inspirational apparel brand called Be Inspired Apparel Brand. So I'm just excited. And I know for some people, that may sound like a lot. But what I tell people, though, in summary is I am an ordinary individual with an extraordinary desire to do God's will and whatever it is that he has for me. And so God has called for me to be all of those things that I have previously mentioned. And it is an honor. I'm a Change Maker of the Year award recipient for 2 years in a row. I received citations from the city of Philadelphia for my work in the community. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful and I'm humbled. And, I'm excited to walk in my calling and just do all the things that God has called me to do, which essentially is to help people across the world.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And we are definitely kindred spirits because I also, engage in a lot of activities, and people always ask me, Jay, when do you sleep? And and I always tell them, I love being involved with various things. So you wear many hats, Tiffany, but you do so because God has anointed you to wear those hats and to make that change. And I want to share something with you that happened to me when I was in school. My biology teacher, he was my hockey teacher as well, and he saw me busy in the sport arena with all the types of sport. He saw me doing public speaking. He saw me doing acting. I was busy in the academic circle. And one day he came to me and he said, Juanita, and I said, yes, because I didn't know, if I had done something or why was he approaching me. And he said, the more you do, the more you can do. And I looked at him and he recited it again. He looked at me and he said, the more you do, the more you can do. And his message to me as he unpacked that for me was, Juanita, just do everything to your heart's desire, to your heart's content, and God will just give you, more and more to do. So we are definitely history makers, and I see everything that you do, Tiffany, you make an impact. So I'm very proud to know you, and I'm very happy to host you today. Thank you so much for your time. Now we're talking leadership, and you are definitely a strong leader, my sister. What brought you on this leadership journey? Where did it start?
And I was thinking and looking over that question, and for me, I went back to who put me on this leadership journey, and it was God, right? And because I never woke up and said, I want to go on this leadership journey. I just knew what I felt. I knew the dreams that God had given me. I knew the direction that God was leading me in. And it was in this leadership position. And I struggled with it for a while because of my past. And I said, well, God, you really want me to lead people? You really want me? Because when we think of what does it mean to lead? What is leadership? We are essentially the example for other people, right? And so people are watching us. So I said, I know what I've done in the past. I know the type of person that I was. So who am I to be in a leadership role? And so who led me? It was God. And I think why he did it is because he needed me to be that witness to other people, that despite your past, despite your shortcomings, despite the trauma, despite the addiction, despite, adversity, you can still overcome and show up and be in leadership.
Absolutely true. I can't agree with you more. And there's one thing that always comes to us when we start to really move into that road and that way that God has for us. We always tend to look back and think, but look what I did, look where I come from, look. And then God always just kind of fixes our focus, and he's like, but that was then. Yes. And this is now. And I love that about him because, he doesn't dwell like we normally do on the past. So I'm so thankful that he has connected us as children of God and as, entrepreneurs and authors together so that we can make an impact. Now, I want to talk about you being an author. Tell us more about your role as an author, how you enjoy that, anything you want to share about being an author.
Oh, wow. It has been a journey, and it's very rewarding and fulfilling to look at the process. And I never knew that I wanted to be an author. And so I'm telling you, growing up, if you would have asked me when I was younger, what did I want to do when I get older? What's one of your goals? It was never to be an author. It wasn't until I started going through my season of what I call unfamiliar simultaneous lack, which I'll get into a little bit later. I found that writing was cathartic for me. Writing was healing for me. I never knew that. Right. So I just began to write not only about what I was going through in the moment, but about other things that I had gone through. And I was like, wow, this feels good. This was a release. It was an outlet. And so initially I wasn't writing to become an author. I was writing to heal. I was writing to overcome. I was writing to shift my mindset. Right. And so I was writing to shift my focus. And so I was writing to release, right, and not store and harbor those emotions and feelings that I had. And so I remember, I think it was my uncle who used to say, sweetheart, and he's a serial author. His name is Gregory Williams, the Master Negotiator. So he's a serial author, a well-known, renowned speaker. And he used to always say, you ever thought about writing a book? It's like, I don't know. And so then I went back to what I used to write when I would journal. I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do this. And so about 2 years ago, I initially started to write a book, and I was a part of this accelerated program where we were all working to create and publish our ebooks and paperback books. But for me, I just felt like that wasn't my time. I think it's important for people to understand that, not look to your left or look to the right, and stay in your lane and understand God's timing for you is the perfect time. And sometimes we move too fast because we're trying to keep up with other people instead of just running our own race. And so I had to be okay with, 2 years ago, although I'm in this course and by the end of it, all of us are expected to have a book published. that just wasn't my time. Right.
Yes.
And I put that to a side for a while. And like over the past couple months, God had been putting into my spirit and confirming that through other people and through words to get back to it. And when I got back to it, it was different from what I was initially working on. But this time around, I was more connected to it. It had more meaning. It was more significant. And I was like, this is my time. Now I know this is my time to go forward with this book and become an author. And I'll tell you, when I was writing the book, Juanita, I cried. Oh, I cried. And that's how I knew again, this is the time. Because, I'm getting chills. So 2 years ago when I was doing it, I didn't cry. Something was missing. It was like I was just in this course, just to be in this course, to say I'm doing this and I'm going to be an author and put something out. But I didn't want to release it that way, because the same way it has touched me now, I know it's going to touch other people the same way. And so that has been my journey with being an author. And like I had mentioned, the book will be officially launched tomorrow on my birthday, December 11th, via Zoom, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you see behind me, the title of it is From the Struggle to the Stage. And again, initially, that was not the title of the book that I was working on 2 years ago. This time around, it had to make sense, right? It had to be something that spoke to me so deeply. And when I thought about what the title of this book would be, God kind of set me down, and I was thinking about my struggle and everything that I had been through. And then God said, but look at you now. Look at the stage where you are now. You have gone, Tiffany, from the struggle to the stage. And God made it so clear, not literally a stage that you stand on underneath these bright and shiny lights, but you've gone from struggling to a stage in your life where you are doing virtual podcasts that is hosted in South Africa. You are at a stage in your life where you are an award-winning speaker. You are at a stage in your life where you have multiple businesses. You are at a stage in your life where you are now an author. So from the struggle to the stage. And I think that so many people can relate to that, right? And the struggle just doesn't, it can look so many different ways for people. It can be struggling emotionally, struggling financially, struggling spiritually, struggling mentally, right? We all will struggle. It is inevitable. We are human. So everybody can relate to some type of struggle, and everybody can relate to going from struggling to a stage in their life where you have overcome. Whatever that looks like for you. It can be that you went from struggling with being homeless to a stage in your life where you're a homeowner. Just that simple, right? And so that's it.
Well, you had goosebumps. Now I have goosebumps. All the way here in South Africa. Thank you so much for sharing that. You're such an inspiration. And, I actually feel emotional just hearing your story and just knowing that there's so many people out there that's going to relate. There's so many people that's going to receive that healing. There's so many people that second guess themselves that are going to just breathe and say, you know what, God is in control of my life. And what I love about you, and I know that's your success, is you listen to God's voice. You follow God's leading. And that's why he's just doing wonders in your life. So really proud of you, absolutely proud of what you're doing and the light that you are shining out there.
Thank you.
Award-winning speaker. How does that feel to know that all that hard work paid off?
Sometimes I don't have words. It's like, it's like, wow, God, you did it again. You did it again. And, and somebody once said to me, wow, do you have to talk about God all the time? Do you have to include him in everything? I said, yes, I do. I said, because God has allowed me to have everything that I have and do everything that I have done, I will never leave him out of anything. Anything at all. So I recognize where my source came from. And so to be an award-winning speaker, this is what happens when you just show up. And you don't back down from the call. This is what happens when you just surrender. This is what happens when you give God back the gift that he has given you, right? Beautiful. And so this is what happens when you just walk, And I'll tell you, when I won at a speakers competition, I won the award, and I was preparing my speech. And we had to have it, I think it was 3 minutes, a 3-minute speech. So I'm like, God, I've been through all this stuff. How have I narrowed this down into 3 minutes? So I think I had to be over in New Jersey for the event, probably like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was working on my speech, rehearsing it, reciting it. And I still wasn't in that 3 minutes. And I'm like, okay, God, how was this going to work out? So I remember I went to sleep for just a few hours. And I woke back up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I went over it again. And I remember I timed myself, and I got it to 3 minutes. And I said, at 5:30 in the morning, I said, that feels good. That's it.
Wow.
And that's where I left it, Juanita. That's where I left it. I could feel it. It's like, that's it. That's it. And I said out loud, I said, that feels good. I went to get my shower, and I always play my gospel music, in the morning. And for me, that gets me started in the morning. And I have Google set up. So I said, hey, Google, play some music. Juanita, the first song that came on was You Will Win.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Yes, I think it's by Jacqueline Carr. You Will Win. And I was like, wow. And then when I got to the event and I did the competition and I won, I was like, and so things like that just blow my mind. So again, people cannot say to me, oh, you're always talking about God. If you understand and know what I know, and you get to a place where you listen to him and you connect the dots and you see how it all transpired and how it was all confirmed. And so that was a really amazing feeling. And no less than 24 hours after posting my trophy and kind of sharing my experience, people were reaching out to me, calling my phone, sending me messages on social media, asking me to be their speaker coach. Again, I never sought out to be a speaker coach. I never said this is one of my goals, but because there's a need, obviously, and people are watching who I never knew were watching. And so it has been very rewarding, very fulfilling to not just win, but how that even went further to now me helping people as a speaker coach. Now I'm helping other people, and not that they want to, be an award-winning speaker, but they want to be able to command a room and command a stage and be confident in what they're talking about and in their delivery. And so now I'm able to impact people and help them in that way.
I think that's phenomenal. And I was thinking to myself, as you described how that song came up, at that very moment, I was thinking that there's no limit to the way that God can speak to us. I love it.
Yes.
Now you've been a 2 times Change Maker of the Year award recipient. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So here in Philadelphia, in my particular area, last year was the first year. It's called the Uptown Uppity Awards. So Uptown is a certain area of Philadelphia that people live in. And so they had an award ceremony, and there were different categories. And one of them was Changemaker of the Year. And so to be able to be considered a nominee for this award, it was open to the public. So people had to vote for you. And so people voted for me to be the Changemaker of the Year. But I'll tell you, there was, for that particular category, it was a man, I can't remember his name, but he has a barbering school. So he actually won for that category. However, during the award ceremony the first year, they said that there were so many people that voted for this other person that we had to create an award for her too. He said the votes for her were astronomical. Right? I guess as a comparison to the person who also won. And I think it was really close. So they said we had to create an award for this person too. Had no idea they're talking about me. I'm just sitting there with my family enjoying the award ceremony. And so when they said the People's Choice Award for the female Changemaker of the Year goes to Tiffany Gay from Being Sprout, I'm like, what? And I remember walking up to the stage, and all I kept saying was, oh my God. Oh my God. That's all I remember saying. It's like, wow. Wow. So even to be considered in that way, like they recognize, like, no, Tiffany,
Yes.
the public, the community, they support her, they see her, they recognize her, and we want to recognize her too and give her this award for female change maker. This is a people's choice. The people chose Tiffany. So I'm like, wow. And so that was the first year. And then the second year, of course, they did the award ceremony again and people voted for me again. So it's just an honor. I just get out here, Juanita, and I just serve, and with that, people, the Changemaker Award, they were also looking at the community work that we've done. So I have done Thanksgiving meals during the holidays. I've done Christmas giveaways. I've also done a book bag drive. And I've done it here for my community locally. I know the first year I've done a book bag drive. I think I had about close to 200 book bags filled with school supplies that I gave out to the children. And not just here in Philadelphia, but over in Haiti as well.
Perfect. There was something I wanted to say when you were talking. I was thinking of something. You are the blessed of the Lord. You are his child. You are in his kingdom. And there's a scripture that reminded me of your scenario. And the scripture is as follows. Your gift will make room for you. You received an award that wasn't even an award. But just because you are there and God's favor is on you, they created that award for you. And not that you only win it once, you won it twice.
Yes.
How wonderful is that?
Yes, won it twice. And I went like that. I got chills. You give me chills. And I got chills. I won it twice. And to be able to be recognized and have that moment and share it with my daughter meant so much to me. And so as we talk about being a leadership and leading, to me, it starts at home first with leading and being an example for my daughter before, being an example to anyone else. It starts with her. And so I was very proud. And the first time I won the award, she didn't want to go on stage. She didn't want to go on stage with me either time. She's kind of like, she'd be shy and things like that. Now, during that same award ceremony is when I also got the citation from the Philadelphia council member. So I went on stage twice. So that first time she was on stage with me, but the second time for the Changemaker Award, she didn't want to go up, but that's okay. But just saying all that to say, to be able to be her example of tenacity, of strength, of perseverance, of getting back up when you get knocked down, that means something to me. And I don't do it for the recognition. I don't do it for the spotlight. I don't do it for the accolades. But it's nice to be recognized. It's very nice. And that just goes to show you never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching.
That is the truth. You never know who's watching. And that's why we have to be so super, super vigilant that when we are busy out there, that we really bring out that light and love of God, that we really make sure we are true to his word and, just being good examples. And you are correct when you say we have to be good examples at home, because leadership starts at home. We have to be the same person at home, wherever we are. If we are on the stage, wherever we are. That is one thing that's very important. Now, you are into mindset coaching. You are into mentoring. How do you approach these tasks?
Yeah, so with the mindset coaching, one of the things that I realize when I do research and study is that the way that our mind is set is contributed to the beliefs that we have about ourselves, about society, the beliefs that other people have about us. And what happens is we tend to internalize that. And so then our mind is set to a certain place. Because of what others have said about us or what, society says about who we should be. And so one of my approaches with mindset coaching is to tap into how your mindset is developed, right? And then once we do that, I work with people to break that down and shift their mindset, right? Help them rewrite their narrative. So they say that you're that, but let me help you and show you that you're not that. Right. And so when you have this one thought, let me help you counteract that with another thought that's more productive, that's healthier,
Yeah.
that's more rewarding, that's more fulfilling. Because my end goal is to support women and youth with living the most rewarding life that they were born to live, and whatever that may look like for them. And I'm especially passionate about working with the youth because I know at that young age, I know what it's like to, take on what people say about you and want to fit in. So you kind of change who you really are or what you think because you want to be accepted. Right. And so my first love when I started getting into mindset coaching and mentorship, it was going into the schools. And then it branched out to working with women as well. And so that's my approach with really understanding and helping other people understand. Who told you that you were not good enough? Who told you that you would never amount to anything? Who told you that you would never be loved? Right? Who told you that you were a failure? Who told you that you were too old and that you were too young? Right? And so when we accept what other people tell us, we don't show up at our fullest potential. We don't dream big. Some of us, we don't dream at all. Right? And so we show up small, we play small, or sometimes we don't play at all. So to speak, as far as doing the things that we need to do to create a better life for ourselves.
And you really give them guidance on how to start, where to start, how to build on that, to become sufficient in everything that they attempt, to have that confidence to know that they are able to do that, not only to start, but also to complete. Because I see, and that's one of the things that we do here at Meticulous, we help teach people that when you start something, you have to see that through, because you have to bring it to completion. That's part of leadership development. And I love the fact that you go on that journey with the people that you mentor, because they are aware of the fact that you are constantly assisting them. And that's just beautiful. I'm sure you have wonderful people that you've helped and that they all excel and exceed.
Yes, you know what? Today, actually, one of the young ladies who I coach, she's actually wanted to be coached in the area of speaking. But it all ties into mindset because, when we think about our capabilities of being a speaker, because of what people said, we don't pursue it. And so I have been coaching her, and today she has her second speaking engagement. And so the individuals that I coach are doing some wonderful things. So they are speakers, they are CEOs, they are authors, they're counselors. And so I'm very excited for all of them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. You're making an impact with the coaching, with the mentoring. And yes, mindset really ciphers into all areas of our existence. It's all about how we see the world. It's all about how we experience it, and if we are in the position to really make sure we have that drive to attain. And I really feel like you help people to find that in themselves. Now, seasoned leaders, we know that we've gone through struggles, we've gone through trials and tribulations. It was like a molding of our character, and other people go through similar events. And we work with leaders, and I want to ask you, what are the top qualities of a seasoned leader? If you look at a leader and you say, my goodness, I know this person really knows what they are doing, what are the qualities that you would look for?
I'm looking for somebody to, so to speak, the same practice what they preach, right? So do the things that you're coaching others on or you're speaking about. That should be your lifestyle as well. And so when I talk about my 5 life-saving principles, I'm not just talking about it. I live that. That is my lifestyle. I cannot come and speak to you about something that I'm not familiar with. I cannot speak to you about something that I'm not connected to. I cannot speak to you and lead you in an area that I'm unfamiliar with, something I'm not doing. So I would say practice what you preach and do what it is that you're saying that you telling others to do. And just as we are working with people in mentorship and we hold them accountable, the coaching, I'm looking for someone who holds their own selves accountable as well.
Very important. Absolutely. So true. If we really become what we are trying to portray, we are authentic and we live with integrity. And I mean, what better 2 driving forces to have than those 2? Aspects, being an authentic leader, living in integrity. I love that. Now, at the Captor Connection conference, you gave a phenomenal speech. My goodness. And I remember what you said, and I remember what you presented on. Would you just recap on that for the audience? I'm going to make the recordings available very soon, but I would love for the audience to hear just a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. And that was an amazing conference that you hosted, by the way. And thank you for allowing me to be one of the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. And so one of the things I talked about is a shift in your mindset. And what does that look like? How do you do that? And one of the real life examples that I gave, you know, and I didn't share this with you, Juanita. What I talked about was an abusive relationship that I was in. And because of my mindset about my ability to be loved or to be in a relationship or to have someone of that caliber of a person I was dealing with, I accepted being abused. I accepted being belittled. I accepted less when I should have been having more, right?
Yes.
I didn't understand my value and my worth. And that was the first time that I've talked in detail or shared that much about my years when I was in a violent relationship, you know, and being a domestic violence overcomer. I've never shared about that, you know, not to that degree. I've talked about it bits and pieces. So people who know me know, but I've never gotten on the stage, like at the conference and shared. So that was the first time. And, you know, and I wanted to share that because, you know, we end up in certain situations, we make certain decisions in life, again, because it goes back to our mindset and the way our mind is set about who we are, about what people say we can do and cannot do. And so this person that I was in an abusive relationship with, he told me I would never find anybody, you know, like him. He told me nobody would want anybody with full lips like I had, and, you know, the physique or the build that I had. And I internalized that, right? And I said, well, maybe he's right. Maybe my lips are too big. Maybe my shape isn't that appealing to other men, right? Maybe this is as good as it gets. So I dealt with him, you know, pulling the gun out on me, black in my eye, you know, pouring sugar in my gas tank, you know. And when I had to shift my mindset, I had to ask myself some different questions. And I had to say, Tiffany, what will your life look like if you don't change, if you don't shift your mindset? What's going to happen? Right. And the response was, I was going to die. This man, because everything that he was doing, it was going to lead to him. Like, he pulled a gun out on me. Why wouldn't he do it again? You know, he's putting sugar in my tank. So I felt like the road that I was going down, it was going to lead into me not being here. And so that started with me shifting my mindset and kind of saying to myself, okay, now, Tiffany, you deserve better, right? This is not what God has for you. Right. And so, that's what I talked about during that conference. And again, you know, we do not have to accept the mandate. We don't have to accept, you know, what people try to put on us. We don't have to accept the labels or the stigmatism or the, you know, being degraded. We don't have to accept that. We can make a choice to say, no, I'm not that. Right. While you may think that because my lips are too big or my body isn't whatever, you know, there is somebody, God created me perfect and beautifully. I'm wonderfully made, right? So I had to say that to myself. And so that's what I mean by counteracting those negative thoughts. Okay, I'm not going to accept what he says. He say I'm this and I'm that, but this is what God says. And what God says trumps what man says every day.
Amen. Yes. Amen. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the universe is hearing it. And for all the abusers out there, let me tell you something. Those seeds of doubt that you've sowed in our minds, they're not going to take root because God is for us. Who can be against us? And, you know, I'm so happy to hear when people overcome, when they really, you know, realize their place in this universe, their place in this creation. God has seated us in heavenly places, my goodness. He even sent his son so that you and I can be liberated from these type of relationships. And here you are soaring. You are releasing your book tomorrow. It's your birthday. I can't wait. God is good.
Yes.
Now we have low points. How did you make it out of that low point? I mean, I remember I was in the ministry. I don't think I ever said this to someone, but I was in the ministry. I've always been in the ministry for 15 years, but there was a point in the ministry that it was just too much. It was too much, all the time. And I didn't feel I was burnt out, and I didn't feel like I was making an impact. And I actually came to a point where one day I just thought, I just cannot do this anymore. I don't even want to continue living. I don't want to even wake up tomorrow. It's too hard. It's too much. I just can't do this anymore. And I really had to dig deep to get out of that place. How did you get out of your lowest low? How did you reach out? What happened in that moment?
So that's a really good question. And I think it's important to always be transparent and share, because I know, like, I was in a low place. You were in a low place. People, it's going to happen. Like I said, we're going to struggle and be in that low place, but we can get out of it. And so back in 2014, 2015, 2016, I was in that low place. And so what happened is I went from 2 incomes to 1 income to no income, right? And then as a result of no income, I went through a season, that low place of what I call unfamiliar simultaneous lack. And so all at the same time, things began to happen, and I felt like I lost it all. My home was in the verge of being on foreclosure. My truck was repossessed. I had no income, so I was scraping change together to buy my daughter food. Because I didn't have any income, I was at a flea market in winter months, standing outside for 8 hours, trying to sell my clothes, trying to sell my daughter clothes. And there were days where we walked away with no money still. And I'm just trying to pay the light bill, And so during those times, my daughter was with me, and she sat in the car with her coat on and a blanket. And she would say, "Mom, can I turn the car on to get some heat?" But because I didn't have any money for gas, and I was trying to preserve the gas that I had to tell her, "No, baby, just put your hood on, wrap your scarf a little bit tighter around your neck, put the blanket on, and we'll be leaving soon." So she was out there with me. I was standing outside in the cold. She was in the car in the cold at the flea market, so I can try to make ends meet. And, I just remember thinking, like, God, how did I get here? I'm not supposed to be here. And so in my mind, I said, I give up, because this was all familiar to me. Prior to that, everything in my life was stable. I was, like I said, I had the 2 incomes. I was engaged. My house was stable. I was the helper for my family members and friends. And now here it was, I was the one that needed help. And because I was embarrassed, because I was ashamed, because my pride and ego were too big, I kept my mouth closed and I didn't ask for help. And so I actually struggled longer than I had to, because I wouldn't ask for help, and I kind of dealt with it on my own. And so I remember, I didn't have any heat in my home. And although my daughter and I lived in a 3-story house, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, she and I were confined to the smallest room of the house, because when I plugged up the space heater, that room heated up the fastest. So we were confined to that room, and I just remember, though, although in my mind, I said, I give up. I would lay on the couch. I didn't want to eat. I had no interest in doing any activities. I wouldn't answer the phone if family members called. And of course, I threw the phone across the room if I saw those 1-800 numbers from the bill collectors. It was like, I would get knots in my stomach. I knew why they were calling. There was nothing I can do about it. Right. And so the more and more, though, I watched my daughter walking around this cold house with her hat and her scarf on. I had to have a hard conversation and be real with myself and ask myself, are you setting London up for success or for failure? Because I once heard Steve Harvey say, in life, we will all go through things. We will all struggle at some point, right? And so 90% of it is, we're going to struggle. But the other 10% is, how will you deal with it? And so when I talked about leading, I am London's example. So what example am I showing London of how we deal with struggle, of how we deal with that low point? Because as I'm watching London's watching me. She's taking her cues from me. She's learning from me. She's getting her guidance from me. So now when she goes through adversity, when she's struggling, is she going to do what I did and stay under the covers with her head buried? Is she going to do what I did and throw her phone across the room? Is she going to do what I did and say, oh, I give up. I'm not going to ask for help. Take my truck, take my house. I'm going to the field like my mom did. This is how we do things. So I had to say to myself, while I'm looking at her, she's looking back at me. I'm not setting her up for success. I'm setting her up for failure. And so I had to get back to what a mentor once said to me, in which he said, Tiffany, when you identify your why should make you cry. And so London was, is, and will always be my why. And so that, Juanita, was the starting point of me coming out of that low place and shifting my mindset. And so when I did that, my mindset went from I give up to giving up is no longer an option. And I felt like God then began to give me strength to kind of fight back and not just feel defeated and allow the enemy to take everything away from me, including my mind. And so that's where it started, with identifying my why. And I would challenge your audience too, when they think about their why, also ask yourself this question: who will lose if you do not win? Right? Who will lose if you don't get up and fight back? Who will lose if you don't explore all of your options? Who's going to lose if you stay comfortable and stuck in that low place? And for me, that was London. And I can't let that happen.
You can't. I love that she's your motivation, and she got you through that time. And, we go through these things, but it's normal. We've all had those struggles, but not everybody makes it like you made it. Not everybody gets through it all right, because not everybody has your mindset. Right. And not everybody cares about what example they are. And I see that in the ministry, and it's sad to say, but not all parents have that mindset for their children. They sometimes don't feel that way, and you are bringing to the audience the way it should be, the questions we should be asking ourselves. And today, London is a beautiful young girl with a bright future because Mom lasted. Mom didn't give up. Mom said, not today.
Not today.
I'm not going down with the ship. I'm going to swim.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Now, pain, we experience pain. We lose relationships. We lose people in our lives. Sometimes they pass on. Sometimes we have friends in our lives for a season, and they're just not in the next one. I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. And divorce has been painful for me. No one gets married and decides, I'm not just going to be married for a little while. We don't go into these marriages and relationships with that mindset. So pain, in your sense, any way that you experienced pain, what were the lessons that it taught you?
Exactly what you said. We are human. We are human. And it's okay to not be okay. So ask for help. It's okay, right? And as long as we put in the work, it will be okay. It will get better, right? The trouble and the turmoil, it doesn't last always. It's okay to be okay and to not be okay. And I think, it's very important to identify a support system. It's okay. Yeah.
We all need support. And pain has taught me that nothing is forever. Nothing is eternal except the love of God and His plan for us. Mm-hmm. So we must just roll with the punches. We must just stay adaptable and realize that we are so small in the universe and that He's behind the scenes working it out all for our good because we love Him and we've been called according to His purpose.
Yes. And I just want to add, Juanita, when you said He's behind the scenes, and that's where that faith kicks in, right? You may not be able to see it, but it's happening, right? Yeah. So, that's what I think, being able to believe it and see it before you can see it and just know and trust, like you said, that He's working behind the scenes. Yes.
Love it. And I know we've got a spiritual connection going here because you actually answered the next question. How do leaders not give up? They dig into their faith. So how do leaders not give up? Exactly what you said. Yep. I love it.
Yep.
Great answer. Now, you and I are very busy. and we have schedules that we follow, and we still want to balance that with our home life and our children and our careers, and our time with God is very precious. So with that comes a state of prioritizing and discipline. And I wanted to ask you, what should be the top priority of an entrepreneur? Because it's not an easy task to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's not easy. And for me, I would say, we have to first realize that it's bigger than us. It's not about us, right? And so the gifts or the services that we're providing, it is to make a difference in the lives of somebody else. And so for me, my priority is what service, because I want to be a servant. What can I do to change the life of somebody else? And that's what I want to focus on. That's my top priority because it's bigger than me.
It's bigger. It's bigger. Mm-hmm. And that legacy of Tiffany Gay, who wrote From the Struggle to the Stage, is going to stay for generations to come. People are going to look and say, look, Tiffany did it. I can do it too. Look what she went through. She stood the test of time. She lasted. I can do it too. So that hope that you bring really just goes out exponentially and changes lives. Absolutely love that. And it's not about us. You are right. It's about God getting the glory for everything that He has done in our lives.
Yes.
Beautiful. And now I know you are definitely going to write more books. I'm sure of that because you are a go-getter. And I really put in this question for fun. If you had to title another book, if you had to author, and I'm sure you're going to, what would be the author of your next, the title of your next book?
I was thinking about that question, and I'm not sure yet. I don't know, because when I started writing the book 2 years ago, what I thought was the title wasn't the title. It wasn't From the Struggle to the Stage. It was something else, right? Yeah. And so I'm just in a place where I'm going to do what God wants me to do, not what Tiffany wants to do. Right? So for the next title, I'm going to seek Him again because 2 years ago, I realized that I was doing what Tiffany wanted to do. The titles was what Tiffany thought it should have been. Oh. But like I said, it wasn't From the Struggle to the Stage. So with the next title, I don't know. I'm going to let Him lead me.
I was thinking of something when you answered. When I did my thesis for my master's in theology, I started with a few titles, and it took 2 years, to write the thesis. That's the time that they set out for you. And I cannot tell you how many times the title of the thesis changed until I finally published.
Mm-hmm.
So that's normal, but that was just for fun. I was just very interested. Now we're left with 2 questions. I mean, the time just flies so much when we're having fun.
I've been having a lot of fun, yes.
So I want to ask you the second last question. What is next for you? How can we support you? How can we elevate you and cheer you on? You've got your book launch tomorrow. What can we get involved with? Because we want to support you.
Yes. My book launch is tomorrow via Zoom, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the book will be available on Amazon in Kindle version and paperback. And people can get involved and cheer me on, stay connected with me. My name is Tiffany Gay on Facebook, Tiffany R. Gay on Instagram. I'm working on reconstructing my website. So by the end of this year, my website will be up and complete. And so I'm going out 2022 with a bang. So my website will be up and complete. I am on TikTok. It's a Mindset Shift with Tiff. And so if people want to email me, I am available for speaking engagements at any schools, your conferences, workshops, virtual or in person. They can email me at tiffanyrgay@gmail.com. I do have the website, so people can support that way as well and cheer me on and support at beinspiredapparel.net. And that's just the letter B, inspiredapparel.net. And so I'm just excited, and already people are making their plans for 2023, and it has included me. Like, people are already reaching out. Wow. So I will be traveling, doing more speaking engagements. And just a side note, just a little, you are the first to hear this as well. I have been asked to be a part of an anthology in 2023. So another book is coming. don't know the title
maybe
yet.
I changed it.
Yeah, I don't know the title yet, but they had conversations with me. So we're in alignment, Juanita. You know, yeah, you're on point. You're on it. Yeah.
I love it. That's why I wanted to ask that question, probably. You see, the Holy Spirit was whispering in my ear.
Yes.
I love that. I'm going to make all your social media handles available for the audience to get in, contact with you. It's very important that we do network and support. And we are very happy, to have shared this fantastic session with you. Your energy, your vibe, your love for God, your struggle that went to a stage, not just the stages like we are speaking, where you are speaking, but also different stages in your life. And with that, I want to ask you, do you have any final words of wisdom for the audience?
I do. And so, like we've said, everyone will reach that place where they are at a low point, where they are in a valley, where they struggle, right? And so that's going to happen. And, my mantra and something that I came up years ago, I like to share with other people because it has helped me. And I believe it will help your audience and whoever your audience tells about it. And so there will be times you may feel like giving up. But when you feel like that, I encourage you to pick yourself up physically, dust yourself off emotionally, refill yourself spiritually, and start over mentally.
I love it. Amen to all those points that you mentioned. We're going to do that. We're going to make it a part of our daily routine, because as we go through life, sometimes we do get a few knocks here and there, but it's how we roll with the punches. It's how we see it, and it's how we trust God. So I want to thank you so much from my heart to yours. From the Meticulous Moments.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Tiffany, and have a wonderful birthday. May it be a gloriously blessed day.
Thank you so much, Juanita. I appreciate it. This was a wonderful experience. I had so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, you know what to do. Make sure you follow and network and support Tiffany in all her leadership endeavors, as we pray for her as well. And we just thank God that He brought her across our path. And thank you for joining us in this session. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.